Top of the hour here on Make It Plain. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Thompson. Those of you here, how are y'all doing this morning? Give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Coming in early this morning is 8 o'clock for those of you listening around the country. So you all don't, nobody here has a job? Is that was it? Oh, everybody's retired. Retired. That's the same as having no job, right? That's a good thing. Happy Black History Month. And how many of you is the first time being here in our space? Really? Okay. You've been here before?
Just not in this particular space.
Just not in this particular space. Okay. How's Black History Month been for everybody? Been okay? I don't think it's been that positive. It has. Why do you say it's been challenging?
Well, there's been a lot of disturbing things coming out around the country in schools as it relates to Black children, and it's a mess right now.
Tell me your first name.
Letitia,
thank you for coming in. Yeah, and I mean with all the other news we had, we're still dealing with Jussie Smollett, and R. Kelly should have been arrested, but why couldn't they wait till Friday? Friday's March 1st. Do it during Black. They did it during Black History Month. Just wait one more. I mean, they kept him out all this time. They could have waited they could have waited one more week, I would have thought, But other than that, Black History Month is always a good thing. Today, in 1965, Jimmy Lee Jackson was murdered in Selma. And so, as we've been saying to the audience, we go to Selma every year. We'll be broadcasting from Selma on Friday night at the First Baptist Church of Selma, and we commemorating the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Y'all ready to see Roy? How many big Roy fans? How many of y'all saw his last special on Comedy Central? You didn't see the last one he did? No One Is Listening? That was the name of it. No One Is Listening. That was the name of it. So, is that Roy there? Is he coming in? Ladies and gentlemen, Roy Wood. Give him a round of applause. Going on, man?
How you doing, man? Happy to be back in the mix with you. How y'all doing? Oh, let me back up off that microphone. I'm a little too excited right now.
You are?
Too excited, man.
Well, it's good. It's good to be excited. We're excited to have you, man.
Oh, it's an honor to be here, man. It's an honor to be back in the building.
How's your Black History Month going?
You know what, man? It was good for a minute there. Black people won some trophies.
Yeah.
We got a couple of Oscars.
We did good Sunday night.
Yeah, we did all right Sunday night. And then the next day, R. Kelly got out of jail. So,
Right.
You got to give a little bit to get a little bit. That's just how the game go right now.
You're right.
This Black History Month, this one's been topsy-turvy.
It has.
Blackface everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody blackface.
Blackface in Virginia on the clothes.
Baton Rouge Police Department got exposed for officers wearing blackface to do buy bus, like undercover drug buys or whatever. I went back and checked my own yearbook to make sure I didn't do no blackface. I'm nervous. I'm like, did I do something? Everybody getting in trouble now. You got to make sure you didn't make the same mistake.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Everything's been all right though.
That's what the governor of Virginia did. He said it was me, and then somebody called and said, "No, that wasn't you that night." But he had done it so much. He said yes because he done it so much he didn't know when he did and didn't do it.
He said, no, that wasn't me in that picture. That's not the night that I did the blackface. That was somebody else doing the blackface.
Yeah.
Wait, was it? Anyway, I was trying to be Michael Jackson. I was trying to moonwalk because that was his backpedal. His backpedal was to say, no, I was doing it in tribute. Oh, so it was blackface.
That's right.
Like watching that news conference, that was like watching that old Minister Society where Bill Duke plays a detective that's interrogating Lorenz Tate. And he just keeps going, you done messed up, right?
Right, I remember that.
You bought the bottle of beer at 12:30? Yeah, I bought it at 11:30. Wait, you just said 11. I thought you said before you bought it at 12. You done messed up, right? Like, that's how they keep getting the governor of Virginia. That's who else going to slip up and say something crazy? I guarantee R. Kelly's lawyer. I don't know if you've seen this dude talk.
I haven't, no.
First off, like, if you in this much trouble, R. Kelly, you need somebody articulate. Right. This dude sound like he sounds like the white guy. You ever talk to the drunk white dude you try to get away from at the bar?
Yeah.
That's what his lawyer said. Hey, if he did it, guys, look, like, he keeps resetting his thoughts in the middle of his thought. I go, nah, man, he did it. He did it. He ain't even spending no money on no lawyer. Just go on, take the plea, and go on to jail. I Kelly.
Yeah, no, it definitely should. So what else you been doing this month, man?
This month for me, man, we've been working on a couple things up at the Daily Show. We're trying to do. We always do like these weird tributes to Black history, to little known Black history facts in the form
Right.
of a segment where basically I play like an old school Black scholar,
Right.
and I'm presenting old Black history facts and stuff like that. So we've been working on that. I've been working on my pilot right now, which we're going to shoot in May somewhere down south. And the pilot, I don't even know if we talked about it last time.
No.
I play a probation officer. The show is about two probation officers handling their caseload down south, and it's a show I created with the creator of the Boondocks, Aaron Magruder. And so, what we're trying to do is do something that speaks to the issue of recidivism and crime and punishment, and like what makes the criminal justice system the revolving door that it is. And a lot of that boils down to the probation officer. So I think in terms of crime and punishment, it's a prism of law enforcement that's not explored often. And I really feel like it's the type of situation where if done properly, you can really shine a light and show what's happening. And you can also show that a lot of people that are in the system and on papers shouldn't be. And the ones that are, a lot of them are at the mercy of tyrannical probation officers. And then, so backstory on me, when I was 19, I got arrested for stealing credit cards and taking them to the store and trying to get free jeans. Apparently, this is a crime. Did not know this at the time. News to me. So I ended up on probation for 3 years. And so it was the arrest that got me into comedy, because I got into comedy to deal with the depression of knowing that I was going to prison. Because but this is in Florida, so you don't nobody get probation in Florida. Like you're supposed to come on to this prison and join the system.
And how long were you in?
I did no time. I did nothing but probation, and I cannot explain to you why or what lined up in my favor. But the mandatory was 5. My lawyer said they'll probably give me 2. I'll be out in a year with good behavior. You got 4 months to tie up any loose ends in your life. And in that 4 months, that's when I started doing comedy.
Wow.
Went to sentencing, got probation, been doing stand-up ever since. That was 1998. And I know that part of that, being able to travel and do the comedy, and that being something that helped me stay in school and get the degree and everything, was the fact that I had a probation officer who gave a damn. And so when you start looking at the things that, hey, there's this thing I have to do that will help my career, but it doesn't exist within the parameter. The biggest issue is travel. If you're a person that's on probation and you travel for a living, you got to find a new career, because I'd say 98% of most districts in this country will not allow travel for work.
Right.
You got to stay within, not even within the state. You got to stay within the actual borders of the district, or come home every night, which I couldn't do as a stand-up comedian. So that's kind of where the genesis of the show came from. And so, I wanted to create a series that focuses on, the pros and cons of giving people second chances. Is basically that's the basic arc. Now, somewhere in there, it's got to be some damn jokes, and it's got to be some comedy. So it's still, at the end of the day, Comedy Central is a comedy network, of course, first.
Right.
But I'm very thankful that they're giving me the opportunity, that they let me partner with Aaron Magruder, and they're going to let me even attempt to tell a story that's, that I think really affects a lot of people in this country, black and white.
No, that's powerful that you'll be able to tell that story and have that do comedy and have that conscientiousness as a part of it.
Yeah, I'm trying. So to answer your question, I've been working on that script and trying to figure out the casting and all.
So when
stuff.
when will we see it?
We'll shoot the first episode in May. I'm hoping they'll get me on air by front end of 2020.
And what's the title of the project?
Right now, Reestablished.
Reestablished.
It's the working title right now.
Wow.
Might change it to Jefferson County.
Okay.
There's something interesting, and just when you think about the totality of just the like when you think of like probation and social work and court-appointed attorneys, public defenders, like all of these different interesting prisms all exist within one building. So I really think there's an entire world that exists beyond just probation, but within all of these other jobs within the world of criminal justice that don't involve a gun and a bulletproof vest and you running and jumping over cars and tackling everybody. There's plenty of those shows on the air. I'm not hating on them, but these are all city and civil services that are dedicated to keeping people out of jail.
Yeah.
So I think if that's something you saw on TV every now and then maybe that too would help change the way we think about criminal justice in this country, because every show that's on TV about crime and punishment is catch the criminal, lock them up.
Yeah.
Ain't no shows on TV about rehab or mental health or halfway houses.
Right. Right.
Not that I've seen in a long time.
No, not at all.
Comedy Central had a halfway house show like early 2000s, and that did not even take it in the angle that I'm even talking about. The only show I've seen that's remotely close to that right now is what Tracy Morgan is doing with The Last OG.
Yeah.
Last OG is very dope because it's almost like that story in a way is reversed. That story is about the actual the client rather, coming out of prison and going on their journey to redemption, where my show is about the probation officer who's going from client to client and assessing all of these different things. But
now, are you going to be in the show?
Yeah. I got a kid, man. I got to pay for college.
Of course you do.
Damn right I'm going to be in the show. I'm going to be on the poster, everything.
So you are...
Even in scenes in the show, I ain't even supposed to be in the scene. I'm going to be in the background. I'm going to get a background check.
You're writing and directing? How many hats you wearing?
I'm starring, writing, and executive producing.
Okay.
So I'll leave the directing to people that are more capable, But it's definitely an opportunity to tell a tale that I think is very, I think it resonates throughout the country, but especially in the South where you deal with so much just blatant racism. Like I got called the N-word on the way to my arraignment, like just in the truck. Getting transported from jail to the courthouse. Just Negro.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that people are dealing with down there, man. So I think it's an opportunity to explore a really rich world. And I look at what David Simon did with The Wire, and I feel like what David Simon was able to do with The Wire was to humanize the city of Baltimore and in a way make you feel contempt and empathy for people on both sides of the law. And I think there's a way to do that and still make people laugh and make them think a little bit without hitting them over the head.
Yeah.
But if I got to hit you over the head, I hit you over the head. But we'll try it another way first.
You have been, how many of you all saw the headline in the New York Times comparing Roy to Dick Gregory? How many of you saw that?
It was a bit much.
You think so? Well, but don't.
I mean, I'm honored, but I'd still say.
But would you all not agree that what he just described, I mean, that's what Dick Gregory was. I mean, he told it was comedy, but it was also very conscious and conscientious, dealing with the issues of the day. So, you in the ballpark, bro.
Well, I'm trying, man. I just tell people, Dick Gregory went to jail for freedom. I went to jail for Levi's jeans. Not exactly the same honorable. Unless you really like Levi jeans. You respect my denim selection. But yeah, I had the opportunity to open for Mr. Gregory twice in my career. And once at a comedy club, and then again in Selma during the Bridge Crossing Jubilee they do every year,
right? To
celebrate commemorate Bloody Sunday. I don't like saying.
That's where we're headed this weekend. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, you got to get down there, man. Yeah, it's a good time, and I always feel like the Bridge Crossing they always do it at the right time of just on the edge of winter, but before that southern heat start.
Right.
It's like perfect timing.
Right, perfect timing.
Dick Gregory, man, this I saw him command a room at a banquet at like 3 p.m. and at a comedy club at 10 p.m. with the same pin drop silence and eruptions of laughter and just handling truth and without it feeling like he was berating the audience. It was just, here's some things to consider. You think you know this, but here's some other things to think about. And that's all I try to do with my stand-up. I can't dissect the right and wrong of every issue in an hour. You're just not. You're just not going to do that. But here's something else to think about, or here's another angle to think about this thing. You think you know everything about being black in America. Okay, you think you do, but did you know that recycling is dangerous to black people? Because if I leave the store without a bag for the sake of conservation, I'm literally risking my life walking out of a store with just something naked in my hand. Like, no, I need that bag and the receipt.
That's right.
That's
how we were raised.
My uncle
right?
used to call a store receipt freedom papers.
That's right.
He said, this is the only way you guaranteed to get out of this store is with this piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just presenting a different perspective to how I've walked through life and how people I know have walked through life. So, it's just Dick Gregory, that man was just everything, just top to bottom. So for the New York Times to mention me in the same breath is, I respect that, but I still feel like I got a lot of work to do.
Well, you're doing it, brother. And that's why we wanted you to
man.
be here and wanted people to see you and talk to you, see
Man,
what
I
you're all
appreciate it, man.
Now, you just had the special, too, on
Yes,
Comedy
yes.
Central.
No One Loves You,
No One
which is
Loves
still free. You can watch it for free in front of the paywall on ComedyCentral.com. So click and watch that, and feel free to bootleg it if you like. I don't care about people bootlegging my stuff. I already got my check. It's good. They pay you flat. You don't get no bump up for extra views. Not with my contract.
I know that's right. Right. So bootlegging, you ain't got no problem with it.
Yeah, I ain't got no problem with it. Go ahead, man.
Brothers got to make some money.
Yeah, I just want people to see it, man. It's a lot of good comedians out there that's still cooking, and we're in an era where there is a lot of content being thrown at you at all times, and it's naive to think that everybody sees stuff, especially when it comes out. There's people that are still trickling and seeing my first special from 2 years ago.
Right.
And if it's new to you, then let's have a conversation about it. I'm always happy that anybody took a couple minutes to have a talk with me about, or watch anything that I've done. So, I just think that at the end of the day, where stand-up is concerned, I still think that comedy matters. I still think that stand-up as an art form won't go away. I do think that we're in a period right now where, there's a lot of comedy that does properly push buttons and answer and force a conversation on serious issues. But then there's also comedians out there that's just starting mess and saying stuff just for the sake of saying stuff, just to shock people because they want to shock people. And I'm like, okay, if that's your thing, cool. But I don't think that's moving the culture forward.
No, I would agree with you.
It's not my choice. It's not the lane that I choose to exist in.
Yeah.
I'm
And
trying.
that's what we appreciate about you. What's your shirt say, man?
Oh, HBCUs versus everybody.
I like that.
That's just me being pro-black college. Florida A&M Rattlers, class of 2001. Thank you very much.
All right. The Rattlers.
Yeah, man.
The best band, the best college
Yeah,
band in the
man,
land.
the Marching 100.
The Marching 100.
Yo, that black college band life, let me tell you something. We used to be in a dorm and would see these kids coming from band practice at 9:30 at night. Football team already comfortable in their bed.
Right, the band, right.
And the band's still out there practicing.
Nothing like the black college band.
Yeah, I never learned the instrument. I played the flute for 2 weeks in the 6th grade.
And what happened?
Tell you something. You walk
Just didn't
home, you know what happened? You walk home through the hood with a flute case. Because a flute case is so long, it's the perfect length that you can't fit it in a backpack.
Right, so you can't hide it.
You can't hide it.
Can't hide it, right.
So I tried to hide it under my coat. It looked like I had a shotgun, so I had to let it sit out. And I got clowned so hard on the walk home because I had to cut through the South Park projects to get to my house because I got bussed out to a white middle school that year. So you're already getting clowned because you going to the white school over on the east side, and then you get dropped off on the west side and got to cut through the projects with a flute. Man, I left that thing at school. But by leaving it at school, you ain't at home practicing, so you trash on the flute when you get to school.
Right. So it's a no-win situation.
Yeah, so I said, man, go on, put me back in PE.
Where'd you grow up again?
I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama.
You grew up in Birmingham. Okay.
Yeah, that's home. Yeah, that's a different time though. And Birmingham has come a long way. Culturally, I think it's very important. The city itself, Birmingham proper, is still 80% black.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a black mayor every year since 1975. 75 or 79. I think 79.
Okay.
So, on the tech side of things, Birmingham is making gains. I feel like the city took a hit when its banks started consolidating and going to Charlotte and back up to Delaware and everything. Right. Banking was a really big deal in the town. There's some people don't know about Birmingham. Birmingham used to be bigger than Atlanta. So
is that right?
The potential is there. Yeah, Google that. That'll blow your mind.
Wow.
Because Birmingham was basically, it was called the Pittsburgh of the South because of steel production. And so Birmingham had the most steel mills per capita next to Pittsburgh. And so when World War II ended and there wasn't a need to build a bunch of ships and airplanes anymore, most of the Birmingham factories shut down. Birmingham had all of the shipping. It had all the rail lines because of that. And when the federal government came in and wanted to build an airport, a southern airport hub, Birmingham was the first choice, to which Birmingham politicians said, get y'all ass up out our state. Because I don't know if you know, but during the 50s, Alabama was going through a lot of issues with the government trying to tell them what to do.
Right.
And so, it was one of those things where you trying to tell us what to do with these black folks. We don't want that. We don't want that airport. Get your ass up out of here. So they took the airport to Atlanta, and Atlanta flipped that airport and grew their industry. And
imagine what Birmingham would have been.
Atlanta's population quadrupled that of Birmingham in under like 20 years. And that's so I do think that it is a city that deals with a what could have been. That's not a word. What could have been isms. Lot of like Birmingham deals with that. So, that's why, part of it's very important to me that if we can get the tax breaks that I'm trying to get at the state level and the local level, it's very important to me to be able to shoot the show back in Birmingham because then you can bring some industry. And more importantly, what I would really love to do is get some kids on set and just let them see the process of creating. Because the thing I never had in Alabama was a place to go dream, if that makes sense. Like I didn't have, like I thought about comedy. I didn't start comedy till I was 19. I thought about it when I was 14.
Okay.
Like that was the first cognitive, I think I could do that.
Okay.
It was on TV, but that's a whole nother world when you growing up in the 80s and 90s.
Who were you looking at on TV?
Sinbad.
Okay.
Sinbad was the one I was allowed to watch. And then I would sneak the Red Fox vinyls from upstairs. And I would listen to those on Saturdays at a real low volume.
Okay.
In the attic so my parents wouldn't know what I was doing. And then Comedy Central signed on. And so when Comedy Central signed on, and Comedy Central, when it first started, was just collections of clips of televised stand-up from other networks.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was just this infusion of just comedy every day. Then they showed all of the old SNLs from Eddie Murphy's years. That was my first time ever seeing Eddie Murphy. I never watched SNL as a kid. You sleep. You in the bed
but you got a chance to watch it.
So you watching the whole old Eddie Murphy backlog catalog.
James Brown Celebrity Hot Tub.
Yeah, but too hot tub.
The hot tub.
So then you see all of that, and then your first thought is, all right, I want to be a comedian. How do I go about this TV journey? And then you look around you and you realize ain't nobody around you on TV. They ain't doing nothing in town. Ain't nobody you can talk to. Ain't no big brother, big sister, even dreaming like that. So, and I went to the Boys and Girls Club, and they talked to you about a lot of different opportunities and stuff, but they never, and I just think this is just from it not being present in Alabama. I'm not downing anybody that was part of my matriculation in Birmingham. It's just, if you don't see it, it's hard to visualize a way through to get to it.
Right.
And it took me damn near going to prison to just go, all right, well, I got to figure it out. I'm just, you know what, I'm going to take the Greyhound to Atlanta and do open mic. Somebody there have an answer. And I don't think every child has that opportunity or has that way through. But for me, what really gave me the you could do it was Ricky Smiley. Like everybody talks, which comedian inspired you to start. You have your gods that you respect, but Ricky Smiley is the singular genesis of me going, I could do it. Because Ricky Smiley was the first comedian from Birmingham to make it on the cable.
Mm-hmm.
He did BET's Comic View, and he did the My Name Lil Daryl, and he was doing a prank phone call. And this is long before he's doing all of his syndicated radio stuff. Ricky was just the dude on the radio at the crib.
Mm-hmm.
He was the comedian on the local morning show, and you see this dude from North Birmingham on TV, and you go, boom, I can do that.
Yeah, it give you some inspiration.
He from the crib. He goes to the same barbershop I go to. If he
Right,
can get his
right.
ass on TV, I can get on TV. Okay, who do I need to make? And that's why I started like pause in the credits to look for addresses and names, and I would get on Yahoo Yellow Page search. I would find your ass like
Right.
that.
How could I break in?
Yeah, so it was.
Love it.
So I'm trying to be that. I don't know. Maybe I'm dreaming too big, but I just feel like if I
No.
can just do that, then that's,
He's not dreaming too big, is he? You gotta have big dreams. I think the word everybody uses now is aspirational.
yeah, aspirational.
That's the word.
That's it, man. Just
But you last time you heard that we did talk about this because you're being a little modest even about Birmingham. The goal ultimately is to build studios in Birmingham, right, and produce original content.
use
in that
my
city.
television show to create demand
Right.
and to show the rest of the industry that you can create quality products in Alabama. And by lowering the tax incentive as a result of a TV show coming in, you can build a studio because there's more demand for shooting there. All you need is one show. Movies are cool, but television drives film and TV industries in other cities outside of LA. So you need a regular, episodic, scripted show that's shooting on a regular basis to help create the crew base that's needed to sustain other projects in the region. So you need that first show, which means you need that first executive producer who believes,
believes
that
in it.
there's enough people in Birmingham to pull it off.
So again, that's coming back because Airport moves to Atlanta. Tyler Perry's in Atlanta. They,
Will Packer's in Atlanta.
So
Owen shoots a lot of stuff in Atlanta.
right. So why not? Everything can be in Atlanta.
No,
Right.
and that's actually like no lie. That's part of what's happening right now in the South is that there's a lot of production in New Orleans and Atlanta, but because of the anti-LGBTQ laws in North Carolina, Hollywood pretty much stopped shooting there because of their discriminatory practices. So a lot of those productions are staying in the South, but either going to NOLA or Atlanta.
Right.
And there's only so many things you can shoot in a city that big.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your ass to Birmingham.
Right. That's a big
Create
deal.
some jobs.
And that
So
goes.
that's the long play. That's the long play. But first, I got to get this show on the air and make it funny.
Well, it's going to happen. We
That's
look
the
forward to
short
it.
play.
One of the things we were talking about this last time too, that I knew that the change had been made. And we all know the history of Birmingham. It used to be called Birmingham. So I mean, even to rehabilitate it and flip it and deal with the history. When you, if any of you ever flies into Birmingham Airport, the airport is now named after Fred Shuttlesworth, who was a pastor of the 16th Street Baptist Church. It was bombed where 4 little girls were killed. You fly into Atlanta's airport, you don't hear Maynard Jackson's name. It doesn't stand out. It's Hartsfield Jackson. If you didn't know it was Maynard Jackson, you wouldn't know. When you fly into BWI, it say BWI Marshall. But if you didn't know it was Thurgood Marshall, but when you fly into Birmingham and the pilot says, we are now approaching the Reverend Dr. Fred Shuttlesworth Airport, you clear.
Yeah.
You
They
know?
say it with that soulful voice.
Yeah.
Frederick.
That's what happened.
Mr. Shuttlesworth.
I'm on the in the plane, and then the white pilot is saying Fred Shuttlesworth's name. I was like, if I died and gone to heaven.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Birmingham is definitely, the history is there. That's the one thing I've always appreciated about growing up there. Is like you'll meet people who are just becoming exposed to certain prisms
Okay.
of blackness from back in the day. And
Okay.
did you know that was yeah, we learned that in the 3rd grade, went on the field trip, did the whole thing. Like we have a wonderful Civil Rights Institute there.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I would say my earliest memories probably 4th grade, 4th, maybe 5th grade. We was in that museum and you're learning about the Freedom Riders. Like there's still science and biology to learn, but then they're also, just so you know, your granddaddy did a lot to get you here, so you should probably give him a hug when you get home. Like that, that type of stuff has always been instilled. And, for as much as what Birmingham, there's always a conversation about what Birmingham was, and I'm trying to drive the conversation to what Birmingham can be.
Yeah.
And I'll start with Birmingham. The rest of Alabama, that's going to be a project. Because as soon as you try to do something progressive in Birmingham, then you got Jeff Sessions' ass coming out and
Oh my God.
talking sideways, or you got a newspaper editor last week saying the Klan needs to ride again.
Yeah. Right.
Ride where?
Right.
On who?
Right.
Get your ass run over.
That's right. In 2019.
Yeah, come on down the street with that horse. I got a Mustang.
He sure did say
So there's still a lot of ignorance in the state. So I just feel like if you have an opportunity to be a beacon of positivity for a place that doesn't always get positive headlines,
that.
I'll wear that.
Yeah.
Which is why to bring it back to the Daily Show, that's something I'm very appreciative of. Is that Trevor gives me a lot of wiggle room on black issues and talking about issues that are, very specific to black Americans. And Trevor is a person of color. Trevor is black.
That's
He's
right.
considered black.
He's black.
But when there's nuance to certain issues, I really do appreciate the fact that sometimes he'll defer to me and go, you know what? This issue is about Chicago gun violence, and there's a way to do this segment in studio, but it'll be better, Roy, if you go with these gang interrupters who go and talk to brothers on the street and keep them from retaliating after shootouts.
Right.
So go walk and talk with them. Or, hey, go back to Alabama and talk to the conservationists. And, there's ways to do things that still, you can honor some of the silliness out of Alabama, but you can still talk about a lot of the good things and good people that exist there that you don't hear a lot about.
Yeah. You going to keep that up, being on a Daily Show, being a correspondent and all that?
Yeah, I'm not going nowhere, man. They don't have to drag me out the building.
No, because you all
too
see
much
him do
fun.
that too. It's really very creative because he's covering a story and there's humor in it, but then there's also the level of seriousness he's reporting on. Because I saw the one with the interrupters.
That one of the guys, one of those. A lot of people don't know this, but one of the gangbangers we talked to in that piece was shot and killed 2 days before the story aired.
Wow. Yeah.
He never even saw, and he was one of the people we were literally talking to, and he was explaining
I remember that now, right? Yeah.
what's going on the street level. And that's been the one thing that I've been very appreciative of, is that the Daily Show has given me a place. There's stories I go in and pitch, and I'd be like, ain't no way in hell they're gonna let me do this. And they'd be like, cool, go do it.
Is that right?
Million Man March, 20th anniversary, go on to DC. Talk about justice or else.
Okay.
That was the first two stories when I walked in the door at the Daily Show. This first 2 months was the Madison Police Department and taking a look at their police bias training. Mm-hmm. And Jordan Klepper and I went to Madison, Wisconsin, and just a deep dive with the department that at the time had just made a questionable shoot on a young brother, I'd say a month and a half earlier. So, hats off to them for the transparency, but we also got to put your toes to the fire and figure out how that went wrong and what, it's not a lot of jokes in that.
Yeah.
We found the jokes, thankfully, but that was the first piece. Second piece, hey, there's going to be a march in DC to commemorate a previous march.
Right.
And then my Minister Louis Farrakhan might be there too. Can I take some cameras? Would you mind if I take some cameras? And they greenlit it, man. We got Brother Nuri Muhammad from The Nation. He came on and talked with us on The Daily Show. Yeah. Like that's now, trust me, it took a lot of back and forth, but it was that was an honor, man. To be able to even take a camera and point it at that many black people doing something positive and finding jokes that honor the show, but also don't disrespect the people that's out there marching. And,
No, you're right. You're right. And you do that well.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
No,
I just feel like,
don't you think he does that well?
Thank you, brother. And that's not the sole mission, but I also know that that's part of the gig, to, every now and then you got to talk about stuff that's going on in your community, because if I don't know who will. That's also part of why I won't quit, because I don't know who they gonna hire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And what you're doing is too important just to just to cast to the wind. Everybody here watches The Daily Show. Now, the fact of the matter is, for younger people, millennials like me, that is, no, seriously. My son is 16. When I'm on MSNBC, he's not interested in that. He gets his news every night from The Daily Show. So he knows everything I'm talking about on MSNBC, but he doesn't want to watch me. He wants to watch it on The Daily Show. Now, if I went on The Daily Show, he'd probably stop watching that. But, because that's how kids are. But it's, it's younger, it's funny, and so, but it's still some news there. And so he's, I'll ask him, but did you hear about this day? I know all about it because I saw it on The Daily Show. So the job it's funny, and I don't know whether that was the original intention when John and them came up with that, but it's like that has happened now. That is a legitimate source of information as well as humor.
What I believe, and I mean Jon Stewart would have to be here to answer it in totality, but what I believe happened. So when John took the Daily Show over from Craig Kilborn, late 90s, early 2000, the show was not political at all. It was just a satire of the local news. That's what the original intent of the show was to be. And I think as Jon Stewart became more political, like just more and more political and more opinionated about what was happening in D.C., he became very much the guy that was counterculture. And to be counterculture is to be young. That is something that youth gravitate towards, is punching up at authority.
Right.
And so
right.
whether he intended to or not, he just became the voice of the youth.
Yeah.
And the show became that place to go to see someone who would properly punch a politician in the mouth and hold him accountable, more so than, say, I don't know, Lou Dobbs or Tucker Carlson would have on CNN at the time.
Yeah. But that works, though.
Yeah. And so, now with Trevor, I know that Trevor is definitely not John in the same political leanings, number one, and number two, in the veracity after which John may go after one thing, Trevor may save that energy and go after 4 or 5 and spread that veracity out over a couple things. So I think that's where their approach is a little different, but the show definitely still is about punching up.
Yeah.
And for as long as the show is doing that, it's always going to be, some youth involved. Plus, I wouldn't trust a 12-year-old that watched 60 Minutes. I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Can't trust no kid that acting that grown.
Too old already.
He said, I watched it too. It's crazy.
Because that's all you had no choices then, That was all we could look at, right?
Yeah, my
I
dad.
remember sitting with my grandparents looking at 60 Minutes.
Oh, we watched them all. We watched 48 Hours. We watched 2020 with John Stossel.
Well, and when I was coming along, when people actually had dinner together every night at a certain time. Everybody's running now. But in my grandmother's house, we had dinner at 5:30 every evening. And Walter Cronkite was on every time we sat down to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how.
It was Sunday mornings at our house.
Yeah, we did Sunday mornings too.
We did Sunday mornings.
All of that.
We watched
Getting ready
CBS
for
Sunday
church.
morning, and if I was lucky, my dad would switch over to the sports reporters with Dick Schaap on ESPN, so I could watch a little bit of sports. But for the most part, it was hard news and then Sunday morning conversations.
What's interesting too, that when you agree, you talking about Saturday Night Live earlier. It's funny how they don't even need writers on a show like that anymore. You don't when it comes to it's a guy like Trump.
Oh, he the gift that gives and gives and gives.
Y'all see that food? Are they talking about a memorandum of understanding? Did you see that?
No.
I don't believe in memorandums. I believe in agreements. Like that's, and the dude was like, "Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I disagree. That's not what it is." Okay, fine. It's not what it is.
It's comical. Here's a question I always like to pose to black people. Knowing what you know now about where we are politically, rewind. I believe Trump to be a byproduct of racist anger from Obama being in office. Just a pendulum going the exact opposite way, right?
Right.
So knowing what you know now, if you knew this was coming after Obama, before you voted for Obama, would you have still voted for Obama, knowing that this was the trade-off.
Yeah.
This is the trade-off.
That's a hell of a question.
Look, there's no right answer to it. It's just one of the ones I love to pose to people because it's just like,
It's an unfair question.
yeah. I
'Cause
think it's
rough
still
thinking.
worth it.
No, it's fun.
I think it's still
Well,
worth
it's funny you should mention that. We think alike. When in 2012, I asked the question that was a little different.
it. Okay.
Because Clarence Thomas was up to some of his foolishness then. And I asked black folk if you had a choice between a second term of Obama or Clarence Thomas resigning from the Supreme Court, which would you pick? And folk was twisted. It was like, that's another one of them Sophie's choices, you know? So
I'm gonna answer.
Uh-oh.
I would choose getting Clarence Thomas out of office.
Yeah.
I think if Obama, well, okay, wait, I need to qualify. Could Obama appoint the replacement before leaving office,
Good
or
point.
is that up for grabs?
Good point.
In the 2012 election, because that's
Good point.
that's dicey. If Obama could appoint him, I would rather Obama do one term and have appointed a couple of Supreme Court justices. That's some 30, 40 years of posterity.
That's
there.
right. That's right. Well, speaking of Birmingham, before we go to break, you saw the ruling Clarence made the other day, and it was relevant to Birmingham. In the case Sullivan v. New York Times, it was some of the racists in Birmingham sued the New York Times in 1965 because they ran an ad. It was an ad that was bought in the New York Times soliciting funds for Dr. King's legal defense in Birmingham. He was on trial in Birmingham, about to go to jail again in Birmingham. And New York Times ran this ad. And in the ad, it called out some of these racists in Birmingham. And so they sued saying, that.
Slander.
Yeah, it was slander. And that's when New York Times came up with the ruling about public figures, there being a higher threshold in terms of what is considered slanderous or libelous. And so Thomas said gratuitously the other day, well, that needs to be reversed. That was a Birmingham case. So
Yeah,
that's,
because the president don't want people calling them names.
right.
So you call me names, I'm gonna take you to jail.
But he calls people names all the time.
Of course.
He does.
Yeah, yes.
Give Roy a round of applause, folks. We're going to take a quick
Thank
break.
y'all so much.
We'll come right back. And we're not done just yet. We just got to pay a couple of bills. We'll come right back. Those of you listening at home, we thank you for tuning in. Of course, this segment will be available on demand after the show. You're listening to Sirius XM Progress 127 Resistance Radio. Get woke. Get ready for impeachment. Don't go away. Quarter before the hour. This is MIP.
It's time to get woke.
We're back, folks.
It's time to
Welcome
get
back.
woke.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're live.
I kind of seemed like Jeb Bush right there. Remember when he said, "Please clap" when he was
Please
speaking,
clap.
and nobody. We were
good,
we was
man.
talking off mic, and talking about Birmingham and Atlanta and what happened. Speaking of Sophie's choices, like we just did with Obama and Clarence Thomas, it would the airport being originally built in Birmingham and Birmingham becoming the Atlanta that Atlanta is now, would it have been worth it though, with the overpopulation and the traffic? Because you cannot drive in Atlanta. Would that have been cool?
Not. Of course not. Everybody wants to be something they're not. Every small city want to be a big city. Every big city want everybody to leave so they can have some space. What I don't think though, and because I have to be very careful about saying this, because I don't want it to come across as, well, the only reason Atlanta's Atlanta because they got an airport and we didn't get there. Everything that happened there lined up perfectly, because what I don't think would have happened in Birmingham that happened in Atlanta was the creativity and the music boom and the creativity of film and television, because music to me was the genesis of that and everything else becoming TV. And then once we got into reality shows and all that stuff, I just think that culturally Atlanta and the way white people ran that state is a little bit more liberal than the way things are done in Alabama. Georgia got crazy politicians, don't get me wrong. But when you hear, on a regular basis, this crazy politician said this thing, can you believe this? It's usually Alabama. It's Jeff Sessions. It's Roy Moore.
Roy Moore.
Roy Moore been cutting up before all of this. 10 years ago, he was trying to put the 10 Commandments up in the courthouse and was pulling them down. They would take him into jail. So
How you get banned from the mall, Roy?
exactly.
You get banned from the mall.
Yeah, and that just literally strikes me as the type of person that would set up a zoning law to keep music and nightclubs and strip clubs and things that all help feed that underground music culture that eventually erupted into what Atlanta is creatively today. None of that infrastructure would have been there in Birmingham if we had the same like-minded politicians that we did then as we did now. So you can have the airport, but if you don't have any people that are feeding the creative machine of a city, then your city never evolves. And that's why I'm so excited, because we have a new mayor, his young brother, Randall Woodfin. He's 36 years old. And so, this brother is very much about, one of the first things he did was create an initiative in the tech sector to fund accelerators for black women that are doing stuff in tech.
Wow.
So not only trying to do tech, but then trying to do tech to one of the most marginalized groups in tech that have statistically the hardest amount of time raising capital for their businesses. So, aside from crime and I'm going to get rid of potholes, vote for me, he's trying to do things that take the city forward in new industry, because you can't keep resting on old stuff. You can't.
Yeah. Real quick before we were in the break, you were giving advice to the Democratic candidates.
Oh, if I was a Democrat, so first of all, everybody announcing way too early. And I know you have to for fundraising, because it take a long time to raise money. But just if you're going to announce this early, just run on lies. You ain't got to. You don't have to tell the truth until the Iowa caucuses. That's between now and then. Just say crazy stuff to get your name at the front. If right now, if I'm Cory Booker, I'm just running on the wall. Trump on the wall. I'm building a wall too. My wall will be a double wall. It's gonna be electrified, and it's gonna be laser beams and rockets, and with motion detector rocket launchers, and kill everybody. And then when you elect me president, and then I get sworn in on the Bible, then I say, "Psych, ain't no wall. Just run on the lie." Trump run on lies.
Because you won't lose any Democratic votes, because we need a Democrat. Just trick some of the Republicans.
Only thing beat a lie is a bigger lie. I understand people got to be noble, tell the truth, because that's what's honorable. Fine, do you. But I'm just telling you what I would do if I was running. If I was running, I'm running on everything. We got spaceships. I'll tell y'all where the spaceship's at if you vote for me.
You tell them where Area 51 is.
Yeah.
Roy Wood Jr., everybody. Your website, Roy, where people can keep up with you.
My name is Roy Wood Jr. Put an @ in front of it, put a .com behind it. That's social, that's everything.
Thank you all for coming to visit us this early in the morning. Y'all like getting up early this morning? Y'all would maybe want to come back sometime and do it again? Yes. Okay, cool.
I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
I got up here for y'all. I had a bit of a toothache. I said, let me go and get up here. Them people got up.
Yeah.
Let me get up.
Give yourselves a round of applause. And thank you to everyone in our listening audience as well. We'll do it again tomorrow, folks. If all minds are clear, it has been made plain.
Get woke.
Thank you, bro.